Okay, so I was going to do a live, but I probably won't have time to go through all the comments, and sometimes I lose them, so I'll do a live in a couple of days. But I just wanted to do a quick video on grounding, okay? Because I was asked a question today by somebody who was after attending some classes, and they were doing, you know, visualizations and all these things for grounding. But said to me, I actually have no clue why I'm grounding. I just have to ground, apparently. And apparently it's to anchor her to the earth. And I was like, yeah, in a way, yeah. And but she still doesn't understand it. So I thought to myself, how can I explain this in the simplest possible terms? Which I managed, but she got the brain and the cogs turning. So I tried to explain it to her. If I was to arrive to work, and I was flustered and I carried my day in, and I have a client coming in 20 minutes, and I'm just not going to be able to, you know, sit down and go into a reading, and because I'm still carrying the day and I'm very flustered, say something had happened, and you know, whichever. So what would I do? I'd say I need to ground myself. I need to be in the present moment now, you know what I mean? I need to kind of be where I need to be now to do this work. So I would ground whichever way that may be. Now I may sit, I may put my feet on the ground. You know, I always kick off my shoes when I come into the office, and anyway, so that's immediately me telling myself I'm grounding to what I'm about to do now, okay? And then on another front, there's the energy side of grounding, okay? So I find this for me is after working with spirit, if that makes sense, okay? So I'm grounding myself in my energy, and I can feel the little tug that I'm in the present moment, I'm here where I need to be, and I'm going to work with spirit. So let's say I have a reading, and I always find if somebody's only gone a couple of months, they've passed only a couple of months, and I've, you know, somebody in front of me is grieving very badly at the very start of the grieving process. And I find a spirit comes in with like a ton of bricks, because they so much want to comfort, you know, their loved one, and you know, energy can be very, very strong. So what happens when this happens, this kind of reading or any reading, is that obviously our energy has to rise a little bit, and with spirit coming in, and you know, our energy changes, we become ungrounded, you know, a bit ungrounded during the reading, okay? It has to happen. We can't stay totally, you know, grounded. We rise, we change during it. So for me, there's two different, you know, different parts of the grounding, if that makes sense. You know, our everyday grounding, I feel, is still different as well. But in any way, during the reading and after, we rise. And we're also linking in with spirit, and we're linking in psychically with the person, you know, sitting in front of us. And so we've all this energy, and we're rising up a little bit, and surrendering over. You know, so our energy, you know, we do get a bit ungrounded. So what can happen afterwards, especially when it's a really, really strong link, I find, you know, afterwards, it can be so powerful and kind of shift us a little bit, that especially if you were doing a demo, you may feel a little bit jittery afterwards. So that would be in need of grounding, which should only take a few minutes when you get used to it. Normally what may happen is, if I have another client coming in, that's fine, I just continue on. It's after I finish, you know, everybody, I disconnect with the spirit and move on to the next client. But what is very important is when you're finished them, is to take that, whatever it may be. If you're first beginner, it probably will take you 20 minutes, you know, but the few minutes to ground afterwards, it's so important, because what will happen is your energy depletes. So for the rest of the day, you're wrecked, and your brain is foggy, and you just can't focus. Okay, so that's why it's important to ground. I find the grounding after so important. If you're somewhere, you know, I'd say go to the bathroom for a few minutes and ground. And for me, when I'm finished the readings, it's intention, but I have a coffee, but it grounds me, you know, it works, and I just tell myself I'm grounded. But I was trying to explain that to her. You know, in our everyday life, we ground. It's very important to go out and get our feet into the, you know, grass, or, you know, sea salt bat. You know, I always suggest get your head right underneath the water. You know, I don't see the point of just being here, just my opinion, but energy's everywhere. You know, like dunk back and sit up. It's lovely. You know, these kind of things for ourselves to be connected, connected and cleansed and all these beautiful things, you know, but there is differences in grounding for me in any way. So that may cause a discussion, and that's perfectly fine, but I was trying to explain, you know, the difference in energies. And no matter what, grounding won't stop you at the beginning of feeling off. You know, for me, the jittery feeling normally is after a demo. So if the energy goes high and you're getting good links and all, I find you have that buzzy feeling, so you have to kind of bring it down, or else an hour later you're crashed. So it's always to run somewhere. It's not like that all the time, but sometimes. And I ground, and I, you know, I did have burnout a few weeks ago, but I mean, I do this, well, at the moment 6 days a week. Now, I'm not here all day. I come here in the evening and I do some healings in the mornings. And on a Saturday is the long day for me. But I mean, eventually, you know, with life and everything, you slip up and you take for granted that you don't need to do certain things, and you will get burning. You know, so I've experienced that. And burnout is literally health-wise exhaustion, you know. We do use up so much more energy than others, and we have to remember that. I always seem to run for the sugar. You know, I have a sneaky bar of chocolate hid here somewhere. I'm sure there's one somewhere. And I will run for that, and it's a quick fix for me. And I'll kind of bring fruit and stuff, because the natural sugars in there are great as well. They keep us ticking over and keep us going. You know, you know, we can do this all day if we wanted to, as long as we do certain things for ourselves, you know, and self-care is number one. But we have to live the human life as well. You know, we're not all going to be perfect. Life ain't perfect sometimes. So, recap is grounding. There's almost nearly 3 different types of grounding to me. For me, grounding is getting myself in the zone before I work, and not being flighty in mind, that I'm not here in the present moment to work with spirit and surrendering to them. I'm making up, you know, stories in my mind's getting out of control. You know, that's being ungrounded. You know, and bringing the day in with me and stuff. Afterwards, when, you know, I do feel we have to be ungrounded. We get ungrounded during the reading. We have to. You know, we need to rise a little bit, so we're not going to be there. So afterwards is very important, and I don't care whether it's 1 or 2. It's good to take them a few minutes to ground yourself, so that you're not exhausted and things like that. And then there is obviously the ground in everyday life, just to be connected to Mother Earth, because we need that energy of Mother Earth running up us, you know. So we need to get barefoot into the grass. None of this runner shoes and all, and you know, get in barefoot, or else hug a tree, touch a tree. In that sense, we need to be connected in that way, because we're living, you know, as well, the same as the trees and everything. We're meant to be around all this. So hopefully you might understand what I was trying to explain to her, but I feel that she was just told, you know, you need to be grounded to connect to Mother Earth, you know, and you need to be just connected in the energy so everything can flow better. I just don't, I'm actually sick of hearing that. That's such a cop-out of why we need it. Explain the experience, I think, helps better. You know, like I've had incidents at the very beginning, and I mean, I had done a reading, I got so much into the energy, I was actually sick. I was so sick. I did spirit work when I went in psychically, I stayed there, and I just gave all that energy, you know, and that's another thing as well, and it's not got to do about grounding at all. And what was part of the problem with that, which I didn't understand at the very beginning, was that I was given my power over. So I had lost control of the reading, the person was taking it over, I was there too long, and I was depleted again, I left. Now that's something different. So that's regaining that. I normally don't have that problem. I normally keep my energy with me, and that's fine. I seem to have control over that. It's very rare. Their energy might distract me, but I don't give it over, you know. In a good way, it might distract me. But so yeah, and at the beginning, I will say, so not to confuse not being grounded. At the beginning, when people, if they think back, so I'm sure everybody hasn't got the same experience, because not everybody feels as well when they're doing a reading, so not people that don't always see, they just know, so whichever way you work. But for me, being a feeler, you know, I feel an awful lot. I find that it's important to kind of know. But at the beginning, okay, when people start doing readings, when spirit steps close, you know, and they're focusing on what they're going to do, they will feel a shift in energy. They will feel a change in what they do. That's not got to do with grounding. That's got to do with you feeling the energy change, and you're being aware of things changing, and you're about to work with spirit. And sometimes I've often seen beginners start to shake, and this is when nobody's near them, they're just connecting to spirit. So, and then you'd say, ask spirit to step back, and you'd see their energy settle a little bit, which is amazing. So we can see the effect that it has. So it's not that, I know medium, you know, doesn't drain you, psychic drains you, you know, but the energy is different, you know. It's whichever way you deal with it. You know, psychically, if we stay there too much, I feel like we're giving over our power, to be honest, you know, or we're taking on theirs too much. That's not having control, and that happens at the start. But just to be aware that at the start, yeah, you may feel off after, you may feel buzzy more often, maybe a little bit more stronger at the beginning, because your body's only getting used to the energy. Your energy has to get used to working with the energy, and then you will learn to regulate it. You know, your energy will adjust to this as time goes on, you know, and that's in my experience. And eventually that stops, and then you go on to the next level. So each and every level is very important. So hopefully that made some sense, but I just thought I'd put it out there. Maybe it'll start a little discussion between you, and everybody has an opinion, that's fine. Hopefully you're able to understand what I meant by it. So I'm just playing my crystal ball. I hadn't had it down in a while, so I took it down and gave it a dust, and then like a magpie, it was beside me. So very interesting. I haven't used it in a while. Once again, another fab tool. Okay, I'll chat soon. Bye.